Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be answering the question of what shoes are best for short distance versus long distance running. So let's get started. So for the purpose of answering this question, I'm going to go ahead and classify shorter distance running as anything that is less than a 5K and longer distance running as anything that is equal to or more than a 5K. And if you didn't already know, a 5K is equivalent to 3.1 miles. So as a runner, there's a lot of different things we take into account when we're training for a race. We take into consideration the distance that we're going to be running, the training required to accomplish a certain speed or distance, the hydration and nutrition we might require along the race, the weather conditions the day of, and of course our shoes and apparel. So a study done by Dr. Miles Mercer, Dr. Tori Stone, Dr. John Young, and Dr. John Mercer at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and the University of Alabama studied whether maximal cushioned running shoes had any more effect on running economy than neutral cushioned running shoes did. After testing both shoes at different speeds and different conditions, they concluded that maximal cushioned running shoes did not have any more influence over running economy than neutral cushioned running shoes did. However, it was noted in the conclusion that each runner had a different VO2 response, sometimes better in different shoes, so they concluded that a runner may or may not benefit from a certain type of shoe based on their running experience, their running style, and their body measurements. So future research should definitely be focused on testing different types of models and different types of subjects to go ahead and figure out this information. From this study, I was able to centralize a few concepts to go ahead and break down this question further, and we're going to be focusing on distance, speed, acceleration, and power, which are 4 units that you should definitely take into consideration when you're running. So distance, or how much ground we cover, is going to be measured by what race we sign up for. So a 5K is going to be 3.1 miles, while a marathon is going to be 26.2 miles. And that is a major difference that we have to take into account when choosing shoes. With a 5K, we're like right in the middle of a short distance race and a long distance race. So sometimes we do have the luxury of choosing a more minimal shoe based for speed, or just something comfortable that has better durability. But for a marathon, you are going to want something that is comfortable, that is padded, that is cushioned in order to get you through that full 26.2 miles. So distance is definitely something we need to take into account, because how much ground we cover is definitely going to be affected by what shoes we choose. So next up is going to be speed, which is the rate of change of distance and can be classified into pace and cadence for runners. Pace is going to be your average mile time measured in minutes, while your cadence is how many steps you take per minute of running. So for me, my average pace time is going to be around 9 minutes and 45 seconds, and my cadence is going to fall somewhere around 160. This is equivalent to about a 29-minute 5K time and a 4-hour and 15-minute marathon time. So my speed is easily affected by what shoes I wear, in that the weight of the shoe will contribute directly to how fast I am able to go. Studies dating all the way back to the 1980s show that a 1% increase in mass contributes to a 1% slowdown in pace. Basically, the heavier the shoe, the slower I am. The weight should also be taken into account when we go into our next term, acceleration, which is the rate of change in velocity, or velocity divided by time. For runners, it's the act of increasing our speed. So for example, I may start out a race. Let's say it's a longer race, like a half marathon or a marathon, and I may start out at 10 minutes, which is about 15 seconds slower than my normal pace. I do this in order to avoid burnout, which is where you burst out from the start line and make your way through the pack in order to get ahead, and then you have nothing left to give and you have no further acceleration. We want to save this acceleration towards the end of the race, the half mile left at the end of a 5K, or the last 10K portion of a marathon, since mile 20 is very commonly where runners burn out. Shoes are something very important that contribute to acceleration, because the heavier the shoe is, the harder it is to increase your speed at the end of a race. So we sometimes do want something that's a little bit lighter weight, that way it doesn't feel like our feet are dragging behind us, especially if we're trying to meet a certain time or we need a nice downhill stretch. Finally, the last term we're going to take into account when choosing shoes is going to be power, which is the rate of work done measured in watts. For a runner, the higher the watts, the more power we are generating with each step. Power is something very important to runners, as we generate most of our power from our lower body when we are running. We generate it from our feet in order to produce a heel to toe off, as well as our calves to keep that going, and our stride. And we generate a lot of power from our quads when we encounter hills and we are trying to get up a hill or slow ourselves down from burning out on the downhill. Generating power is also something that is very important to keep our pace throughout a race. If we can figure out a target power output that doesn't burst through our threshold, then we can avoid getting blown out at around mile 20 to 22 in a marathon. Basically, if we can configure the watts that we need to run on a flat course, we can figure out how to maintain it on a hill even if we have to slow down. That way, when we get back to the flatter part of the course, we can still maintain the same power output and work our way back up to the pace we were originally at. So as a runner, shoes are going to be an important part of maintaining power, because you want something that is comfortable, padded, even possibly has a stability component in order to meet the requirements that you are putting on your lower body when generating a certain power output. So these shoes can help alleviate the pressure that you put on your body, lessen your risk of injury, and your chance of blowing through your power threshold. Therefore, in order to account for all these parameters, get the best training and results, and reduce your risk of injury, you are going to want to use two separate shoes when you're doing short distance versus long distance running. So for shorter distance running, you may want to use something that is lighter, less cushion, and has a little bit more flexibility. So by flexibility, what I mean is that you may be able to bend the shoe like this, and essentially that's to provide you a better toe off. That way you can stick to being on your toes, which will accelerate your speed. You'll see that a lot of sprinters end up staying on their toes in order to provide them with better speed when they're trying to accomplish a 400 or even an 800. So essentially what shoes like this aim to do is they are aiming to be able to provide you with better speed and acceleration. That way you can either maintain or set a new record for your time. So if people are looking for PRs, they can look to use a faster shoe. There are some shoes out there, such as the Nike Next Percent, the Hoka Carbon X, and the FuelCell 5280 that use carbon plates inside the shoe to provide you with a better propulsion force. That is something that these racing flats don't necessarily have, but those ones I mentioned are also racing shoes that do have a thinner amount of padding but still have a great bouncy foam, along with the carbon plate to provide you with better speed. And those are just other examples of racing shoes that you'll be able to use during shorter distances. Some people do choose to use them during long distances, and that is because they are comfortable with them, but it is my belief that you really only want to use these in less than a 5K. So longer distance running is kind of opposite from shorter distance running, because you're going to want to look for a shoe that has more padding, stronger material, and just better durability overall to accomplish your mileage. So this is a shoe, it's called the Brooks Adrenaline GTS 19. As you can see, it definitely has a thicker amount of padding from the heel all the way to the forefoot, even if it does taper off a little bit. With longer distance running shoes, they are still trying to get you on that heel to toe off. Something newer than this is going to look like this. This is the Mizuno Wave Inspire, and essentially this one also has a ton of padding that tapers off towards the forefoot to give me that heel to toe off, but it is very durable. I find it super useful when I am trying to run my longer 10 to 13 miles during the week, and it's definitely very comfortable from the beginning of the run to the end of the run. Also, what padding can do for you is it provides better shock absorption, which will be nicer on your feet, your joints, your hips, your back. So with that all in mind, the ideal running shoe for short distance versus long distance running is definitely determined by you, but it is my belief that you want to use something lighter and more flexible for a short distance run in order to accomplish speed, while you might want to use something padded and more durable for long distance running for the efficiency of getting through the mileage. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope this answers your question of what shoes are best for short distance versus long distance running. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Hope you come back for more where I break down more shoes and more of your running needs. You guys have a great day. Bye!